Next up, we have Cameron to switch tact a little bit on textile sector. Thank you.
All right. So a little bit about myself and our company. So I've essentially been in this lifelong. It's a family company. Family started it back in 1996. Started out double lockup garage, ended up being Australia-wide. We expanded when we got the opportunity to collect excess textiles, non-saleable textiles from the Salvation Army in all the southern states. And then we just expanded, set up our own facility over in Malaysia, where we were also collecting and sorting. So the sorting was initially reuse, rag, and that's really what we knew about. Over time, we developed our skills and what we knew. So we included upcycling. We also sought recyclers. So we couldn't do the recycling ourselves. The investment and the capital costs were just too much after our capital injection to the facility over in Malaysia and expanding in Australia. So we found mechanical recycling over in India, which is actually where about almost majority of the world's mechanical separation occurs. So they have respinning facilities, they have non-woven facilities, and they've been doing it for in excess of 30 years as well. During that time, we are about one of 5 people at the facilities that we've used, one of 5 Western companies that have actually ever visited the facilities to audit them. So that's where we are a little bit different. On top of that, back in Australia, we opened up a charitable arm as well. We saw a need and we opened up, we've got now 6 charity stores, 5 up in Queensland and 1 down in New South Wales in Campbelltown. More recently, we've started not just working in the charitable sector, but we've also been partnering with councils who have a non-saleable textile stream that a lot of charities can't accept or will not accept. So we work with councils to recover those textiles for their local regions. Over in, well, for a 6-month trial, we did do a partnership with one of the product stewardship schemes here in Australia. We found out that brands typically don't like reuse, which is one of the big problems that we're facing. Over in Asia, they're a lot more on board with it. So we've partnered with the likes of IKEA, Top Glove, Isetan, which is like a My department store over in Malaysia, and we're in talks. We've been talking with Timberland and Under Armour as well. So on top of that, we recently got the export accreditation from Charitable Recycling Australia, which is a new accreditation scheme which has recently been developed. And then on top of that, we do education, both in Malaysia, Singapore and Australia, where we operate across those 3 countries. We also have been doing R&D into shoe recycling, and yes, that is shoe granules, but we turn it into floor matting for shop fit-outs. Currently, we're also looking into yoga mat production and the different binders. There's different environmental binders that you can use. So some are cheaper and not as good for the environment, and then some are more expensive, and then you find that you don't have the end market take up. So it's try and balance that at the moment. So some of the, sorry, I think I have they're the wrong way around, sorry. So some of the problems that we've currently got are beliefs or misconceptions of the industry. There's a lot of mistrust because the industry's been in a big grey, unregulated area for such a long time. So we're working with government, we're working with local industry to try and change that perspective and to bring light onto, yes, there are some practices that people are doing in the industry which is not appropriate, but through the likes of ISO accreditation and different accreditation schemes, we can bring some light and also visibility and transparency back into the industry. There's a lot of greenwashing. by sustainable brands, which is hard to combat for try and push out new products. So we're trying to reduce that and fight that at the moment. There's also the misbelief that textiles are for the red bin here in Australia, but they can be recycled. You've got Blocktex, but you've also got mechanical recycling as well as an option. So, which is pretty amazing what they can do. There's also just repair in general, reuse are great things to do even before we get to the recycling. Behaviour issues with the collection processes in Australia. We have the risk of dumping is pretty big and pretty obvious. There's been a lot of charity bins taken out of operation in public locations. So you get the determination, and then also those textiles still have to go somewhere. So if they're not at a bin, then they're most likely going to a charity or straight to landfill. High contamination, so once again, education is a big one. We also have brands, which is astronomical in Australia. When I was dealing with a product stewardship scheme, that are straight to downcycling, destroying product even before they give it to the recyclers. So they will cut it up before you even get to see it. So they do not want any reuse to happen. Logistics, population density, big problem in Australia. Also just tight labour markets as well. So labour emissions in your transport. We're doing 600 kilometre trips and we're fully loading a truck up to 10 tonne. There is not an EV truck or hydrogen truck available for us at the moment. Warehousing requirements and supply availability. It's the same as the residential market at the moment. Rentals are sky high and there's also no supply as well. Lastly, the locality of end markets. Australia doesn't tend to cater for it. We import a lot of brand new textiles into the country. We like to consume new, and about a third of what we get through charity shops is actually sold through charity shops. So what do you do with the rest? Once again, labour shortages, also not just labour shortages, but labour skills. We don't have many skill sets in textiles in Australia anymore. The labour turnover rate as well in Australia. No one wants to sit there decommissioning a garment all day. So essentially overseas, we have access in Malaysia. Malaysia has employment contracts or agreements with 5 other countries, including Bangladesh, Indonesia, Philippines. Sorry, I can't mention the other, I forget the other 2. But it allows you to import from those labour markets as long as you're employing local Malays as well. And then, once again, with the demand, we can scale in Malaysia. Even with our upcycling, we have capacity in Malaysia to do up to 30,000 units a month, which we just can't produce that in Australia. So recovery in action. So here we have some of our upcycling, where we've done some clothing working with KL universities for KL Fashion Week. We've also got the non-woven seating material for Uniqlo, which we processed. We have the mechanical separation, so that they're running it through the cutting and pinning, separating, and then it gets respun. First they sort by fibre type, then by colour, and then it typically goes into a lot of home furnishings. Then we also have the shoe granulation, which you can see there. There's different surfaces that we create. You can crumb it either with the full shoe, the upper and the bottom. However, you need to use a special binding agent for that, which once again was more expensive. So yeah, that's a few options, and I've got a few creations, whether it's the spun yarn or the upcycled or the fully recycled tote bags, which tend to be in great demand in Australia.
Do you want to show people a couple of the byproducts or value-added products?
Yeah. We've got one tote bag here. Oh, sorry. One tote bag here, which is fully recycled from the recycled yarn. So that's made over in India, and then we have the upcycled, so keeping the fabric in its original form. That is done in Malaysia. And And then we have the recycled yarn. So can I just get you hold? Yep. Thank you. So as you can see, it's pretty standard yarn. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. That was amazing. Thank you, Cameron. And from such humble beginnings, and look at the international impact that it's having and the global brands. So congratulations.